Elon Musk sees the mission you were put on Earth to complete. Before we dive in, I want you to pause and reflect. Where are you tuning in from? Perhaps you believe that peak performance and meaningful accomplishments belong to the younger generations, that your role now is to step aside and let fresh energy and new ideas take the lead. Maybe you think that the physical and mental changes that come with age naturally limit what you can achieve, and that wisdom and experience are merely consolation prizes, poor substitutes for the vitality and ambition of youth. Or maybe, just maybe, you've never stopped to consider that some of the most transformative breakthroughs in human history have come from those who had lived long enough to see beyond surface-level problems and truly understand what solutions work in the complex realities of human nature and society. By the end of this conversation, you'll realize why society has been misleading you about when your most powerful years actually begin, and why everything you've been told about aging and decline is designed to waste the very capabilities that could make your remaining decades the most impactful of your entire life. I'm here to challenge every assumption our culture makes about aging and ability. I want to reveal why many of history's greatest achievements were made by people who had accumulated decades of experience before embarking on their most important work. This isn't about feel-good stories or cliches about staying young at heart. It's about understanding the specific neurological, psychological, and social advantages that develop over time, advantages that position you to solve problems and create value in ways impossible for someone with less life experience, regardless of their intelligence, education, or enthusiasm. Today, I'll show you why the conventional story about aging and decline isn't just wrong. It's a deliberate deception that prevents society from harnessing the most sophisticated problem-solving abilities humans can develop. These abilities emerge only after decades of observing how systems truly function and what interventions create lasting positive change. The lie you've been told is that your capabilities peak early and then steadily decline, that your most productive and creative years are in your 20s, 30s, and 40s, after which you should gracefully step back into less demanding roles. But neuroscience tells a very different story. While some cognitive functions like processing speed and working memory may slow slightly with age, other mental faculties continue to grow and reach their peak in people who stay mentally active and engaged well into their later years. The skills that improve with age are exactly the ones most critical for solving complex, real-world problems, those that require understanding multiple variables, anticipating long-term consequences, and designing solutions that work with human nature rather than against it. These include crystallized intelligence, the vast reservoir of knowledge and skills accumulated over decades. Unlike fluid intelligence, which is about quickly processing new information, crystallized intelligence grows throughout life and reflects your deep understanding of how things work, why people behave as they do, and which approaches succeed in different situations. Your brain also develops what scientists call bilateral processing, the ability to engage both hemispheres simultaneously for complex problem solving. Younger brains tend to rely more on one side or the other, but experienced brains integrate information across both, leading to richer, more nuanced thinking. Most importantly, the aging brain hones superior executive control, the capacity to regulate attention, juggle competing priorities, and maintain focus on long-term goals despite distractions and setbacks. This executive control enables seasoned individuals to pursue difficult objectives with patience and persistence, qualities younger people often struggle to sustain. But the benefits of experience go far beyond brain changes. You've cultivated what I call pattern wisdom, the ability to recognize recurring themes and predict outcomes based on having witnessed similar situations unfold over many years. Having lived through multiple economic cycles, you understand how markets truly behave, not just how theories say they should. Having raised children through different eras, you know what parenting methods actually work, beyond expert recommendations. Having observed social movements rise and fall, you grasp what drives lasting change versus fleeting enthusiasm. This pattern wisdom is invaluable for tackling complex social problems that resist simple fixes and require discerning the difference between interventions that look good on paper and those that succeed in practice amid real-world constraints. You've also developed emotional regulation that lets you stay calm and strategic during crises that might overwhelm younger people who haven't yet learned to distinguish urgent problems from those needing patience and reflection. Decades of experience with loss, setbacks, and surprises have taught you that most difficulties are temporary, initial reactions are often mistaken, and the best responses take time to develop and implement effectively. This emotional stability is essential for leadership in uncertain times and for helping others maintain perspective when overwhelmed. Perhaps most crucially, you've gained what researchers call socio-emotional selectivity, the wisdom to focus your energy on relationships and activities that bring genuine meaning and satisfaction, rather than chasing goals that seem impressive but ultimately feel hollow. This selectivity isn't about losing ambition or settling for less. It's about becoming more intentional and strategic with your time and energy, focusing on contributions aligned with your authentic values and unique blend of skills and experience. The problem is that our culture undervalues these capabilities, instead glorifying qualities abundant in youth, energy, speed, tech savviness, and willingness to grind for external rewards. This bias wastes immense human potential by pushing people to step back from meaningful engagement just when they've developed the very skills needed to solve tough problems requiring wisdom, patience, and deep understanding of complex systems. Worse, this narrative becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. When people internalize limiting beliefs about aging, they start seeing themselves as past their prime and avoid challenges that would keep their abilities sharp. Age-based discrimination operates on many levels. Workplaces often sideline older employees from challenging projects, assuming they prefer less stress, when in fact, complex problems are exactly what would engage their evolved cognitive strengths. Educational systems design programs mainly for young adults, favoring fast-paced learning over the integrative, wisdom-based approaches older learners excel at, creating unnecessary barriers to lifelong education. Even well-meaning family and friends may discourage older adults from ambitious goals or new skills, citing concerns about overexertion or appropriateness. Together, these pressures cause many to police their own ambitions, shrinking their sense of what's possible or appropriate, uttering phrases like, "I'm too old for that," or "I missed my chance," unaware these limits stem from cultural myths, not biological facts. What's most alarming is that this waste of human potential happens just as society faces challenges desperately needing sophisticated, long-term thinking only extensive life experience can provide. Climate change, economic inequality, political division, social fragmentation, these aren't problems solved by youthful enthusiasm or technology alone. They demand wisdom born from observing cycles of cause and effect, understanding unintended consequences, and patiently implementing solutions that may take decades to bear fruit. Those who have lived through multiple economic booms and busts grasp financial systems in ways recent graduates cannot, no matter their theoretical knowledge. Those who have raised children through shifting educational philosophies understand human development in ways child psychology research is still uncovering. Those who have witnessed community transformations over decades comprehend social dynamics that urban planners are only beginning to appreciate. Yet instead of valuing these individuals as vital resources for complex, long-term challenges, our culture pushes them toward retirement and leisure, removing their sophisticated problem-solving skills from the very arenas where they're most needed. This is not just a loss of individual potential, it's a catastrophic misallocation of society's intellectual capital at a time when every ounce of wisdom and experience counts for the future. The solution isn't just personal recognition of your capabilities, though that's essential. It's a cultural shift toward valuing accumulated experience as expertise that grows more precious as problems become more complex and interconnected. When you stop seeking growth because you believe your learning days are over, when you avoid leadership thinking you should make way for younger people, when you shy away from new technologies or ideas assuming you're too old to adapt, you create the very decline society expects, which then proves the false narrative about aging. The truth is, capability doesn't simply decline with age. It evolves and often improves in ways our youth-obsessed culture fails to see or appreciate. The question isn't whether you can still achieve meaningful things. You can, and in many ways, you're more capable now than ever. The question is whether you're willing to reject the limiting belief society has programmed into you and start recognizing and using the sophisticated abilities you've developed over decades. Let me share a story that perfectly illustrates this truth. I met Catherine Williams at a community development conference last year. She was presenting research that was transforming how social services address poverty and family instability. Catherine is 71 years old and began her groundbreaking work just 5 years ago, after decades as a social worker, mother, and grandmother. Everyone told me to retire and enjoy my golden years, she said. But I realized that everything I'd experienced raising children, navigating bureaucracies, and watching communities evolve gave me insights younger researchers and policymakers lacked. Catherine's frontline experience taught her truths about human behavior and social dynamics that no academic study or data set could capture. She understood the gap between policies that sound good in theory and those that actually work when real people with competing priorities implement them. Using her accumulated wisdom about what families truly need versus what institutions think they need, Catherine developed intervention strategies that achieved remarkable results: higher family stability, better academic outcomes for children, and long-term economic improvements far beyond traditional methods. What made her work revolutionary wasn't just practical experience, it was her ability to integrate insights from psychology, sociology, economics, and public policy in ways reflecting the sophisticated thinking that only decades of grappling with complex problems can produce. When you're young, you look for quick fixes, Catherine explained. At 71, you understand everything is connected. Lasting change requires working with human nature and social systems as they are, not as we wish they were. Her story embodies the essential truth about your true capabilities. They're not diminished versions of your youth but evolved, sophisticated problem-solving powers that only life experience can develop, and that grow more valuable as challenges become more complex and stakes higher. Your accumulated knowledge isn't just facts and skills, it's an integrated understanding of how different aspects of human experience interconnect. Your emotional regulation isn't just the absence of youthful impulsiveness, it's wisdom about when to act fast and when to be patient, when to adapt and when to stand firm. Your selectivity about how you spend time isn't a sign of dwindling energy, it's refined judgment about what truly creates value and meaning versus what ultimately disappoints despite its allure. The capabilities you've developed through living are exactly what our world needs most urgently: the ability to see long-term patterns and consequences, the wisdom to work with human nature rather than against it, the patience to implement solutions that take time, and the emotional steadiness to maintain perspective amid uncertainty. But these strengths only become powerful when you recognize, value, and actively apply them to challenges that matter to you and benefit from your unique blend of experience, knowledge, and insight. The question isn't whether you can still make a meaningful impact. You can, and in many ways, you're more capable now than ever before. The real question is whether you're ready to reject the cultural story that your best years are behind you and instead embrace the sophisticated capabilities you've spent decades cultivating. This requires a fundamental shift in how you see your potential and your responsibility. You cannot continue to view yourself as someone whose main role is to step aside while younger people take charge of important decisions and complex projects. The world cannot afford to lose your accumulated wisdom and refined judgment to arbitrary age limits and cultural biases that serve no one. You have a moral duty to resist the diminishment society expects and insist on being recognized for the capabilities you truly possess, not the limitations others assume you must have. This isn't about vanity or denying real changes. It's about refusing to accept unnecessary constraints that keep you from contributing your best thinking to problems that desperately need your perspective. Every time you defer to someone younger just because of their age, every time you avoid challenges thinking you should leave them to others, every time you downplay your insights assuming they're outdated, you participate in the systematic waste of human potential our society can no longer afford. You have lived long enough to see through superficial solutions and understand what really works. You have endured enough failures and recoveries to keep perspective during crises that overwhelm less experienced people. You have accumulated enough knowledge to see connections and patterns invisible to those still learning the basics. These capabilities come with responsibilities. You cannot justify retreating into comfortable irrelevance when your hard-earned understanding could help solve problems, guide decisions, and prevent mistakes affecting those you care about. The patience you've developed is needed for long-term challenges requiring sustained effort. The emotional regulation you've mastered is essential for leadership in uncertain times. The selectivity you've learned about what truly matters must be applied to ensure your remaining years are spent on contributions that fully utilize your capabilities, not on marginalization based on outdated assumptions about aging. Share this insight with someone who might be accepting limitations based on age rather than recognizing the evolved, sophisticated capabilities they've developed through decades of life experience. Subscribe if these conversations help you see that the narrative about aging and decline is not just wrong but actively harmful, blocking people from using their most developed abilities during their most potentially impactful years. Remember, the most profound contributions to human progress often come from those who have lived long enough to grasp the full complexity of problems and who possess the wisdom, patience, and emotional stability to implement solutions that create lasting positive change, not just temporary fixes. So, what would you attempt if you truly understood that your accumulated experience hasn't made you less capable, but has made you capable in ways the world desperately needs, ways systematically undervalued by a culture that confuses energy with wisdom and speed with effectiveness?